People look at my life and they see perfection. Seriously. Julia Rivera, 35, director of marketing at one of Seattle's hottest unicorn tech startups. You know, the kind of company Fast Company calls a game changer. They see my penthouse with the million-dollar view of Lake Union, where the gray water reflects the gray sky. They see the designer wardrobe, the boardroom-ready smile, and my stock portfolio. And then they see him, Marcus Hayes, 37, my husband, the brilliant architect who can turn concrete and glass into poetry. He's tall, calm, with that kind of expensive, I don't care hair that other men spend $100 trying to get. We were that power couple. Our Instagram photos got thousands of likes. Our Christmas party was the talk of the town for weeks. We were the Seattle dream, successful, beautiful, deeply in love. At least, that's what I believed. I believed it with my whole heart. I thought I had it all under control. But perfect is just a good camera angle. It's a glossy coat of paint hiding the cracks underneath. And my paint, it didn't start to peel with a loud explosion. It started with a tiny, quiet crack, the sound of my iPad screen. And what I found inside it changed everything. I'm the planner. I don't just have goals, I have roadmaps. My career wasn't luck. It was the result of 2 a.m. work nights, sweat-soaked presentations, and the ability to sell an idea better than anyone else in the room. Seattle is a city that doesn't sleep, and in tech, if you stop to breathe, you get left behind. I was the one setting the pace. When our startup went for its Series D funding, I was the one on stage convincing Silicon Valley VCs that we weren't just the future, we were the present. Work was hell, but it was a glorious hell. I met Marcus at a charity fundraiser, one of those boring events you have to attend where everyone drinks bad wine and pretends to care about saving something. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just standing there, sketching the building's facade on a cocktail napkin. He was different. In a world full of loud closers like me, Marcus was quiet. He was a maker. He built things with his hands. He believed in texture, in people look at my life and they see perfection. Seriously. Julia Rivera, 35, director of marketing at one of Seattle's hottest unicorn tech startups. You know, the kind of company Fast Company calls a game changer. They see my penthouse with the million-dollar view of Lake Union, where the gray water reflects the gray sky. They see the designer wardrobe, the boardroom-ready smile, and my stock portfolio. And then they see him, Marcus Hayes, 37, my husband, the brilliant architect who can turn concrete and glass into poetry. He's tall, calm, with that kind of expensive, I don't care hair that other men spend $100 trying to get. We were that power couple. Our Instagram photos got thousands of likes. Our Christmas party was the talk of the town for weeks. We were the Seattle dream. Successful, beautiful, deeply in love. At least that's what I believed. I believed it with my whole heart. I thought I had it all under control. But perfect is just a good camera angle. It's a glossy coat of paint hiding the cracks underneath. And my paint, it didn't start to peel with a loud explosion. It started with a tiny, quiet crack. The sound of my iPad screen. And what I found inside it changed everything. I'm the planner. I don't just have goals, I have roadmaps. My career wasn't luck. It was the result of 2 a.m. work nights, sweat-soaked presentations, and the ability to sell an idea better than anyone else in the room. Seattle's a city that doesn't sleep, and in tech, if you stop to breathe, you get left behind. I was the one setting the pace. When our startup went for its Series D funding, I was the one on stage convincing Silicon Valley VCs that we weren't just the future, we were the present. Work was hell, but it was a glorious hell. I met Marcus at a charity fundraiser, one of those boring events you have to attend where everyone drinks bad wine and pretends to care about saving something. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just standing there, sketching the building's facade on a cocktail napkin. He was different. In a world full of loud closers like me, Marcus was quiet. He was a maker. He built things with his hands. He believed in texture, in weight, in permanence. Me, I sold the invisible. Lines of code, algorithms, digital dreams. We were a perfect match. Or so I thought. He was the anchor to my chaos. I was the fire to his calm. We got married at a vineyard in Oregon. Everything was tasteful, understated, authentic. Our friends, tech CEOs, artists, designers, all called it the best wedding they'd ever been to. Our life was a perfectly calibrated blueprint. Monday through Friday, we conquered the world. 7 a.m., we were both at the gym. Different gyms, of course. We need our space. 8:30 a.m., we'd meet at the kitchen island. Him with his dark espresso, me with my matcha latte. We'd exchange a good luck kiss and slide into 2 separate Teslas. At night, if there wasn't a networking event or a working dinner, we'd cook. Marcus was a brilliant chef. He called it culinary architecture. He'd chop vegetables with millimeter precision while I handled wine management. And then our biggest project started. The house on Lake Union. It wasn't just a house. It was the Hayes Rivera Manifesto. Marcus designed it from the ground up. Glass, steel, and reclaimed cedar. It had floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the water. Minimalist, sustainable, and shockingly expensive. Every Sunday, we'd visit the construction site. Marcus would walk around, hands clasped behind his back, talking to the contractor about the integrity of the lines. Me, I pictured the parties we'd host. I planned the smart sound system, the wine cellar, and the small art gallery in the foyer. It was the symbol of everything we'd worked for. It was tangible. It was real. He'd show me a 3D rendering on his tablet. And here, you see, Julia, the morning light will hit the living room just right. It's going to be perfect. And I believed him. Perfect. I was 35. I had a successful 37-year-old architect husband. We were building a dream house. My career was at its peak. Our weekends were spontaneous getaways to the Puget Sound or wine tasting trips. We had smart, wealthy friends. We didn't have kids, a conscious choice. We were too focused on our careers, we told everyone. My life was a well-written script. Every detail was curated. Every move had a purpose. I had every variable under control. I'd look at Marcus standing on the unfinished steel balcony of our future home, the Seattle wind in his hair, and I'd feel this absolute peace. I thought, this is it. This is happiness. I found it. I built it. The perfect life. How naive I was. I was so busy admiring the perfect facade we'd built, I never bothered to check if the foundation was cracked. And a weekend trip with my friends, a careless moment, and a dropped iPad was about to show me exactly how deep those cracks ran. The iPad. It wasn't even my main device. It was the thing I used to read marketing briefs on planes or sketch out ideas when I didn't want the distraction of my work laptop. It was an accessory. It all started, ironically, with a decompression trip. That's what we called it, me and a few girlfriends. A weekend at a secluded luxury resort in Oregon. You know the type. Sunrise yoga, expensive wine by a fireplace, and most importantly, total anonymity. No CEOs, no investors. Just fog and pine trees. It was carelessness, a moment of laziness. I'd use the iPad to take photos. Weekend snapshots. I even named the folder that. How cliché. When I drove the 8 hours back to Seattle on Sunday night, I felt recharged. I felt maybe a little guilty, but the good kind of guilt that makes you feel alive. I got home. The penthouse was quiet. Marcus was in the living room under the dim glow of a reading lamp, feet up, deep in some thick biography. The architect, lost in his world. I tossed my handbag onto the Eames lounge chair, kissed the top of his head. I'm back, exhausted. Welcome home. Good trip? It was fine. I'm going to take a bath. And I did. I soaked in the hot water for an hour, washing Oregon off my skin, prepping for my Monday morning meetings. And I left it. The iPad, sitting in my handbag, unlocked. This is the part that makes me physically cringe every time I think about it. The part I'd give anything to do over. My iPad didn't have a passcode. No lock, no Face ID, nothing. Why? I guess in the perfect world I'd built, I was too arrogant to believe I needed to hide anything. Me, the director of marketing, whose entire job revolved around data security and privacy layers, left my own life open like a book. I can picture it now, painfully clearly. He wasn't snooping. Marcus isn't the snooping type. He's the tidy type. He was probably just going to take it out, plug it in, and set it on the desk for me. A gesture of habit, of care. He lifts it. The screen wakes up. The Photos app is still open. And the Weekend Snapshots folder is right there. He must have thought it was pictures of landscapes, the pine trees and fog I'd mentioned, but it wasn't. He saw me, in the dim resort room, in a state my husband was not meant to see. And he saw him. I don't know how long he stood there. I don't know how many photos he swiped through. I don't know what sound, if any, left his throat. I imagined the silence. The heavy, suffocating silence of an architect who just saw his blueprint, his entire life's blueprint, torn to shreds. I can see him, slowly placing the iPad back in the bag, carefully, precisely. He goes back to his chair. He picks up his book. But he doesn't turn the page. This is the thing about Marcus I didn't understand until it was too late. He's not a man of rage. He doesn't throw things or scream. That's my style. Marcus is a strategist. He's a builder. When he finds a crack in a foundation, he doesn't take a sledgehammer to it. He steps back. He observes. He measures the stress. He finds out exactly where the weak points are. When I walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a silk robe, feeling refreshed and ready for a glass of wine, he looked up from his book. And he smiled. "Sleep well, Julia." Not a ripple. Not a single word of accusation. I thought that silence was trust. I thought it was just him tired from a long day. I know now that wasn't silence. It was an observation. He didn't decide to end our marriage that night. No, that would have been too simple. He decided to learn more. He decided to build. Only this time, he wasn't building a house. He was building a trap. And I, the traitor, was smiling, walking right into it. If Marcus had yelled, I could have handled it. If he had thrown that iPad against the wall, I would have known the script. I'm a crisis manager. That's my job. I would have apologized. I would have cried. I would have negotiated. There would have been a roadmap to recovery. There would have been a fight and then reconciliation. But he did nothing. And that is what was so disorienting. No, saying he did nothing is wrong. He changed. The next morning, he still made the espresso. Still gave me the good luck kiss as I rushed out the door. But something was off. It wasn't coldness. No, that was the scary part. It was a sudden concern. He started asking about my day, not in the usual, how was it, half-listening way. He listened. How's the Aquila project going? Is the board putting a lot of pressure on you? He started worrying about my health. You look exhausted, Julia, he'd say, his voice full of care. Maybe we should drive out to the Sound this weekend. Just us. I, the marketing professional, the brand builder, the person whose job it is to read people, I didn't see it. I thought, oh my God, he knows. He knows, and he's trying harder. He's afraid of losing me. He's trying to save this. I mistook his silence for forgiveness. I mistook this new attention for an effort to reconnect. I was arrogant enough to think he couldn't live without me, without this perfect life we'd built. I was so wrong. He wasn't trying to save it. He was assessing it. While I was busy with my work and my distractions, Marcus, the architect, was reviewing the blueprints of our life. He was looking for the structural flaws. I know now, while he was smiling and handing me a glass of wine at night, he was making calls during the day. He didn't hire a cheap PI in a dirty car to follow me. No, Marcus is classier than that. He's about precision. He hired a forensic accountant, the kind the Justice Department uses to take down Wall Street firms. A guy who can find a single dollar hidden in the Cayman Islands. I thought I was smart. I always had an emergency fund, a separate hidden account Marcus didn't know about. My runaway money. Every smart woman I know has one, right? An insurance policy, a plan B. I'd been funneling small, insignificant amounts for my massive bonuses for years. It was my money, earned by me. This guy, he found it. In 48 hours. He traced the transfers. He painted a picture. Not of a financially independent woman, but of a deceptive, high-level executive who was secretly moving money out of her husband's reach. I had no idea. And then the digital trap. It was subtle. It was thoughtful. He sat next to me on the couch one night, his own laptop out. Hey, Julia, I was looking at our finances and things are a mess. I consolidated a few of our joint accounts to make them easier to manage. Here, just use this card for any of your company expenses. You know, the client lunches, the travel, and I'll track it so we can sort out the taxes at the end of the month. He handed me a sleek black credit card. It sounded so logical, so organized, so Marcus. I thanked him. I said, "That's brilliant. Thank you, Marcus. Won this thing for me to worry about." I used that card. I used it for client lunches, for business cabs. I swiped it without a second thought. What I didn't know was that I wasn't the only one tracking it. He was monitoring every single line item. He was collecting every receipt. He was building a file. He was carefully laying the bricks of his new design. He didn't just want a divorce. Divorce is messy. It's expensive. It's 50-50. Marcus Hayes, the great designer, was designing a surgery, a precise, clean extraction. He wanted to destroy me, not as my wife, but as Julia Rivera, the powerhouse director of marketing. And he chose his stage perfectly. The quarterly company cocktail party. It was my territory. I was the star. Everyone wanted to talk to Julia. I was in my best Balenciaga dress. I was confident. I was radiant. Marcus was there, by my side, the perfect husband, smiling, shaking hands with my bosses. He was an asset, the perfect +1. Halfway through the party, I saw him talking privately with our chairman, Mr. Thompson. They were on the balcony looking out over the Seattle skyline. They looked relaxed. I remember thinking, good, Marcus is networking. He likes Marcus. I even walked over, smiling. Marcus put his hand on the small of my back, a loving, supportive gesture, in front of my boss. And I heard him say to Mr. Thompson, with this deeply pained, but responsible look on his face, "Charles, I hate to bring this up, but as Julia's husband, I'm genuinely worried. I think we, the company, might have some serious ethical and security issues." I froze. Mr. Thompson looked at me, then back at Marcus. Marcus continued, I've discovered some things. I think your legal department needs to see this. And right there, my husband, Marcus Hayes, handed my boss a small silver USB drive. The blueprint was complete. The next day, Tuesday, 9:25 a.m., I got the calendar invite. Urgent meeting, HR and legal. I walked in. Mr. Thompson wouldn't look me in the eye. They said financial irregularities. They said breach of security protocols. They said misappropriation of company funds. They said undisclosed bank accounts. I was suspended, effective immediately, pending a full internal investigation. I was locked out of my servers before I even got to my desk. My security badge was deactivated. By 9:45 a.m., I was standing on the sidewalk in the Seattle drizzle, holding a cardboard box with a few personal photos and a small cactus. My life, my career, my reputation had been professionally dismantled. You stand on a sidewalk in downtown Seattle at 9:45 in the morning, holding a cardboard box. It's drizzling. It's a cliché, isn't it? The high-powered marketing exec's life collapsing in the rain. But it was happening. The city noise, the hiss of a bus, the sound of a horn, it all sounded like it was underwater. The only sound I could hear clearly was the rain hitting the box, making it soft. My cactus was getting soaked. I hadn't gone back to my desk. I wasn't allowed. My life, the career I had spent 15 years building, was just evicted by a calendar invite and a silver USB drive. I called an Uber Black. Where was I supposed to go? Home? To the perfect penthouse we were building? No, to the perfect high-rise we were renting. I sat in the back, still in my power suit, holding the cactus. I felt ridiculous. When the car pulled up to the luxury lobby, I tapped my company credit card. Declined. Of course, that was fast. I tried my personal credit card. Declined. I tried our joint debit card. Declined. My breath caught. The blood drained from my face. The driver was starting to look at me in the rearview mirror, annoyed. I'm sorry, I whispered. Just a moment. I had to use Apple Pay, linked to my secret emergency fund, the very fund they had used as evidence against me. At least it still worked. For now. I walked into the apartment. It was sterile and quiet. Too quiet. Marcus wasn't there. He was probably at his firm, designing a skyscraper, as if nothing had happened. I opened my banking app. Joint checking, $0. Frozen. Joint savings, frozen. Our line of credit, closed. The brokerage account we used for investments, access restricted. Marcus had liquidated me. He had timed everything. He, 37 years old, had called our private banker this morning right after he handed my boss the USB drive and claimed suspicious activity. He had frozen everything. I, 35, the one who made more money than him, suddenly had no access to a single shared dollar. I called him, straight to voicemail. I texted, Marcus, what the hell is going on? The bank? The company? Call me. A minute later, 2 blue check marks. Red. No reply. That night, I sat alone in our $1 million kitchen. I watched the lights on Lake Union. I was 35, but I felt 80. I was stranded in the middle of the night. I didn't cry. I was too shocked to cry. He didn't come home, and he never would. The next morning, 10 a.m., the doorbell. Not Marcus. A team of professional movers. Silent, efficient, in gray uniforms. They had a key. They said, "We're here for Mr. Hayes's belongings." They took only his things. The bespoke suits, the hardcover architecture books, the espresso machine, the art he had chosen. They left the apartment feeling strangely empty. They took everything that was his, leaving a perfect void. Marcus had moved out. Not a word. Just an invoice from the moving company addressed to me. I thought that was the bottom. Naive again. 3 days later, the story leaked. Not to the Wall Street Journal or Forbes. Nope, Marcus was smarter than that. He leaked it to the trashy Seattle tech blogs. The ones it would hurt the most. The ones that everyone in my industry reads. The ones that future recruiters would search. The headline, "The Fall of Seattle's Marketing Queen." The article was worse. Internal sources revealed Director of Marketing Julia Rivera was ousted for improper client relations and misappropriation of company funds. They implied I was sleeping with clients to close deals. They said I had embezzled tens of thousands to fund my lavish lifestyle. They used the company credit card Marcus had given me and my secret fund as proof of a sophisticated fraud scheme. The story was a professional death sentence. I had lost my position. Now I had lost my reputation. Friends? A hollow laugh. Friends in the tech world, the other power couples we had dinners with. My phone went silent. My texts were left on red. The people who used to fight to buy me dinner now wouldn't risk the association. I was toxic. I was a scandal. They turned their backs. And this was the evil genius of Marcus's design. He never got his hands dirty. He never called me a liar. He never exposed me in front of our friends at a dinner party. He didn't throw my clothes on the street. He simply built the trap, provided the information, and stepped back. He let the system do the dirty work. He let the corporation fire me. He let the banks freeze me. He let the press destroy my name. The entire execution was silent. Not a single argument in our penthouse. Not a tearful phone calls. Just a series of official emails and anonymous articles. He had chosen the quiet road. Its efficiency, it was undeniable. I had been erased. Do you know the worst part about hitting rock bottom? It's not the loss, it's not the betrayal, it's not the public humiliation. The worst part is the silence that comes right after. I sat in that empty penthouse for 3 days. The phone didn't ring, no emails, not a single person knocked on the door. I had been disconnected from the world I used to think I was the center of. I ran the scenarios. Me, the strategy expert, trying to find a next move. What could I do? Hire a lawyer and fight back? He had frozen every joint account. What did I have left? That one dirty emergency fund? To use that against a man who had 6 months of a head start? It was suicide. Go to the press? Tell my side? Fired marketing director accuses genius architect husband of framing her because she had an affair. What would I look like? A desperate, pathetic cheater? No. Marcus had played a game of chess, and it was checkmate. I realized, in that empty silence, that the only move left was to flip the board. I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I used his own silence against him. I sold everything I had left. The Balenciaga dress, the watch, the shoes. I sold the furniture. I liquidated anything with Julia Rivera's name on it. I took what was left of my emergency fund, the fund I'd started as an escape, ironically, became my only salvation. I paid the penalty to break the lease on the penthouse. And 1 week after I stood on that sidewalk with the cardboard box, I disappeared. No note to my friends, no email to HR, no dramatic goodbye post on social media. I erased myself. It's been a year. I don't know where Marcus is. I don't care. He can have everything from that perfect life. He can have the house on Lake Union. He can have his win. I don't know. And that is the freedom. I cut all ties. I'm not Julia Rivera, director of marketing. I'm just Julia. I live in a small apartment by the coast. I don't sell digital dreams anymore. I work with my hands. I teach pottery to tourists. I read books. I walk on the beach in the morning. It isn't glamorous. It isn't perfect. But it's real. I thought my power was in my voice, in my ability to sell, in my title in the boardroom. I was wrong. Marcus taught me one last lesson, one he never intended. He destroyed the blueprint we had drawn together, but in doing so, he accidentally gave me a new one, a blank one. My final message: when you're betrayed, when your life is torn apart, silence isn't weakness. Silence isn't giving up. Silence is the moment you stop trying to fix the broken blueprint someone else drew for you. Silence is the sound of you taking the pencil back. And this time, you build it for yourself. Did this story make you think? Silence can be the most powerful response. If you appreciate storytelling that dives deep into human psychology, please support the channel. Like if you felt Julia's power in the end. Share this with someone who might be finding themselves. And subscribe for the next story.